And a very good morning to you. Welcome along to Tuesday morning's OTBAM. It's a truncated week this week, but it's a pretty big week. The Premier League title will be decided and we'll know who's going to be in the Champions League final by the end of the week as well. It turns out it takes a thunder bastard to win the league. There was nothing else for it other than Vincent Kompany to throw a leg at it last night and ping it into the top corner of the net, ruin Leicester City's dreams of shuffling into relevance again, and also to ruin Liverpool's dreams, because that's it now, right? We think that Man City are going to beat Brighton. We think that there's nothing that can stop Manchester City. You can give us your comments, hashtag OTBAM. Is that it? Is that it done and dusted, Eoin?
Of course it is. Chris Sheahan will have something to say about that.
Not one last twist in the tail?
It would be very funny if Brighton were to end it. Like, it would have been more funny had Brendan Rodgers ended it all. And like with a lot of these moments with Manchester City, with the Aguero goal against Burnley a couple of weeks ago, with this goal last night, you're always left with the lingering feeling that they would have won it anyway. They would have found some other way of either getting those millimetres over the line or finding that thunder bastard. No, you just have that feeling. But really, when you think about it, it probably isn't. It has been an extraordinary title race in the way that they've found those inches, or they found those insane moments, which it was last night. What a way to win a Premier League title, which is essentially what's happened last night, in my view.
Kelechi Iheanacho?
Well,
3 minutes left to go. Revenge.
Inside agent.
No, but it was like revenge. It was like his chance to go, screw you.
Yeah.
I'm going to cost you the league title. All the money he would have cost them. And all the money he made out of them.
And maybe that's exactly what he was thinking. When the ball reaches his feet, he's like, at long last, I can turn that smile upside down.
And
Pep
prove you
Guardiola.
wrong. Yeah.
I'm the guy you should have kept. Gabriel Jesus, I'm better than you.
I did exactly the thing that Man City fans and the Man City coaching staff expected me to do. I shanked it wide.
The Vincent Kompany slip moment. If I could feel that again, I'd love to feel that feeling again, when it was like, that would have been spectacular had Vincent Kompany slipped after scoring that and subsequently cost Manchester City the Premier League title after winning Manchester City the Premier League title. I'm delighted for him. Like, it's, I really am. He's one of those players you can be really happy for, especially given the hashtag narrative that's been around Vincent Kompany for the last couple of seasons, which is a waning power of Premier League football, a past great, who
they were getting rid of him.
Who's not only just holding on to his starting place, he's holding on to his place in the Manchester City squad, according to the idea that he's just not able to. Say if you take the Manchester United game a couple of weeks ago, a couple of early fouls on Marcus Rashford. It kind of plays into the finished narrative, and that goal last night plays into the idea that this guy is just one of the best clutch performers, if I can use that phrase, that we've seen in recent years in the Premier League.
He's only 33 as well. For whatever reason, I kind of had it in my head that he was much older. Like, 33 for centre-back is not old.
No. I guess he's an old 33, I think it's fair to say.
Well, there's wear and tear on the knees and the joints, all right, but he's been at City since he was 22, right? It's a long time. It is
a long time. It actually feels like a lot less than that at this point. And like, does Guardiola have to take a lot of credit for this moment, or is it all Kompany? Is it all Kompany putting his head down and saying, screw you, I am actually going to come back and make my way into the starting 11 on a weekly basis? Like, do you have to kind of bear in mind, or keep in your thoughts this morning, John Stones, for example, who looked like himself and Emerick Laporte were going to lead the way for Manchester City into the new age, and then Kompany comes back and seems to nail that place down. It's been it's been a fascinating enough year when it comes to the defence of Manchester City, actually, and I guess the last 12-13 months, because there has been some questions about that, and there have been questions at left back, for example. Zinchenko has been one of the people that people have held up as a weakness for Manchester City. Doesn't seem to be the case over the last couple of weeks, and Kompany was the other weakness that people tended to point out, and he's ended up doing that last night. Yeah,
here's the thing. I wonder now, does it buy him an extra season or two, a big fat contract, but actually, is this really the end of Vincent Kompany anyway? That, like, they hope that John Stones takes that place back, that if Stones' form had continued, he would have been in the team, right?
Yeah, probably. I would like to know as well the knock-on impact of Vincent Kompany just being Vincent Kompany around the club. I'm sure it has a pretty huge thing on all the other players, seeing him at the back, even if he isn't playing the football he was when they won their first Premier League title. I think it's fair to say that he isn't at that level. Now, granted, I don't think even at that level a few years ago when they won their first Premier League title, he was banging in goals like that. It's his first goal outside the box. Was it something like his first shot outside the box in a million years or something as well last night. I don't know the exact statistic. Hamburg was the last club, obviously his previous club, that he scored a goal for outside the box against Brann. I think you were saying
2007. Yeah,
2007. It's a long old time without one, and what a way to do it.
His first shot on target since 2013 as well.
I love the way he spoke about it afterwards, saying people were telling me don't shoot, and I was quite angry, and he kind of did it to prove his teammates wrong as much as anybody else.
His teammates or the crowd?
Good question. I naturally assumed his teammates. Maybe the crowd.
Yeah, you're probably not shouting.
You're probably not shouting Vincent Kompany to your teammates.
Don't shoot! It was like, I played a bit of football here. I'm the captain.
Yeah, like if that ball goes ballooning 30 yards over the bar, it's 0-0. Manchester City desperately looking for a goal.
Actually, I
could have worked the ball in closer to goal.
Yeah. Guardiola's over there going, what are you doing? Yeah. Anyway, look, they deserve it, right? They're the best team.
Yes, they do. And you immediately think about Liverpool in these moments and what they've contributed to a ridiculous title race. I mean, this could have been a situation where it was the last Monday of the Premier League season. There was nothing to play for, and oh look, that old man is after banging in a 30-yard screamer. Thanks to Liverpool, Vincent Kompany's career can be extended a little bit longer, and he's got another iconic moment in his locker. Yeah,
because this City team are as good as last year's City team. They're as dominant as last year's City team, and last year nobody got close to them. This year, at least somebody has bothered to get close to them, and we should be grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Is this, it's obviously, as we've discussed, and I don't want to kind of paint a negative light in it, but it does seem that the two of them are going to move away from everybody else next season. It's going to be a step forward again. But ultimately, if we get these title races every year, then brilliant. You get the serious nature of the title race. You get the dog-eat-dog nature of the relegation battle, which will hopefully be a little bit better next year. And then you just get the clown race, which is the battle for the top four.
The sprawling morass of mediocrity in the middle.
It's like every great movie. You've got a bit of drama and you've got a bit of comedy.
Yeah. No. It'd be terrible because it would just be like La Liga. It's just, if you want that league, that is exactly what you've described is exactly La Liga. And actually, you know what? It gets a bit boring after a while.
No, it would. The same jokes being told time and time again are no longer funny. I think, except for that Brighton player who was laughing at Arsenal the other day, for example, I think even a lot of the top four jokes are getting stale.
What was the Brighton player laughing at?
Just laughing his head off, walking around the Emirates pitch on Sunday afternoon. I'm not sure was it at Arsenal or was it at a joke his friend told, but it was right behind a despondent Nacho Monreal sitting on the grass, and this guy was laughing behind him, which was very, very funny.
Raheem Sterling, my face screaming, "No, Vinny, why do you do this so hard? What a hip boy, Captain Incredible, Blue Heart, at Vincent Kompany, 56,000 likes." Leicester were pretty good though, right?
Yeah.
Leicester looked like they could be they could be just as good as one of those crappy teams fighting for the top four next season. Say there's no improvement, say they're all worse, say Chelsea get rid of Eden Hazard, say Arsenal are still Arsenal, Spurs will get better, right? You have to assume Spurs will get better next year. And Manchester United, no guarantee they're getting any better.
You think Leicester can take that step?
Could Leicester push those guys?
Well, there was always a sense that they were going to catch Manchester City on the break last night, almost like that iconic game in 2016 when we kind of woke up to the realisation that Leicester City were going to win the Premier League. There was that sense, making up that gap is still a huge thing to do, and you have to assume that at least 3 of those 4 teams are going to get better. Like, as you say, Spurs are going to get better next year. I'm not sure if Arsenal can get much worse than their end-of-season form. Granted, they're in the position they are because they went through a magnificent run at the start of this calendar year.
Yeah, but what's the real Arsenal?
Well, okay, I'm not being overly confident in this, but surely there will be a better away form at the very least from Arsenal. It can't get much worse on that front. Like we've seen a lot of rumours when it comes to Manchester United, who might come in, who might come out. The net gain of that is just such an unknown at the moment. And then Chelsea, the great unknown, really.
Yeah.
So can Leicester make the step up? They can't next season, but can they do it incrementally in 2 or 3 years?
Why not? They're 16 points behind at the moment.
They need another disimprovement from the top 4. I think the last couple of weeks have been so catastrophic for a lot of those top 4
leaving Chelsea
teams.
is a massive disimprovement.
It is, in terms of a squad-based disimprovement. Can their form in patches this year be a lot better, especially around the Carabao Cup final, around the calamity that ensued after Christmas? Of course it can, and I think they can do that even without Eden Hazard.
Oh, Chelsea?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we'll see. I don't know. I thought Leicester were good last night and I was impressed.
they're very, very good. Like it wouldn't have been any sort of injustice for them if they managed to nick a 0-0 draw.
Here's what's coming up on the show today. We've got Ronan O'Gara coming your way at around about 8:10 this morning. Going to talk to him about the Munster game at the weekend. Going to look forward to the Champions Cup final as well, and Leinster trying to poach some Munster players. Are they just keeping them honest, or are they genuinely interested? We'll talk about that too. That's a story at the back of the Indo, which we'll get to in a minute. Going to speak with Eoin the Bomber Liston about the sad news of the weekend that Eugene McGee passed away. Daniel Harris is going to join us around about 8:45 this morning to talk about the football at last night and over the course of the weekend, and we'll talk more Eugene McGee a little bit later on as well. If you want to get in touch with us, you can drop us a comment on any of the streams that you're watching. You can get us hashtag OTBAM. It is 7:55 this morning. It's time for the papers. Okay, we're going to start with the back of the Irish Independent, and Munster issue hands-off warning to Leinster over star scrum half. This is an interesting story. Munster have issued a hands-off warning to Leinster after the rival province attempted to sign one of their brightest prospects, Craig Casey. The Irish Independent understands that Leo Cullen is a keen admirer of the 20-year-old scrum half and has sounded out Casey's interest in joining Leinster. And obviously he's been offered a development contract and will get a full contract the following year. So he's... would you say that's properly fending off interest? They're going to give you a development contract, as opposed to catapulting you straight through. It's that time of the year where players get interest from different clubs all the time. Pogba wants out, but United to demand 160 million sterling. I mean, you can demand your 160 million sterling. You can put whatever price tag you want on it, but unless there's a market for them, there's nothing happening. What have you got for us?
The Irish Times this morning leads with Kevin McStay's column. It's back, and he says football needs to move on from old rituals. And he's kind of got some mixed emotions about the game in New York. He appreciates how great an experience it is for the players, for the management, and especially for the supporters who go over.
And the fundraisers.
And for the fundraisers. It was interesting to see, like, when you go over there as a top-tier county, you actually have to tog off in your suit for the ball on Friday night. I see the Mayo players had to show up to that. Daisha aim to make most of homecoming. They're playing back at Walsh Park this weekend. And Liam Kearns believes Tipperary have strongest panel to date. Companies vote from the blue. Yeah, it's the Times, it's okay. Cronin and Lowe boost for Leinster. This is good news for Leinster ahead of the Champions Cup final against Saracens, which you can hear live on Newstalk on Saturday evening. Leinster looks set for a double boost before the Heineken Champions Cup final, with James Lowe and Sean Cronin expected to start Saturday's game. So Cronin obviously had a calf strain, but now appears to be fine. The back page of the Irish Daily Star this morning goes with one more Vin. Company screamer puts City on the brink, and Connolly return is imminent, says Carl O'Kane. So interesting reports in the Irish Daily Star this morning that speculation mounting around Diarmuid Connolly's return, set to rejoin the Dublin squad. Sources indicating to the Star that a return has already been agreed in principle and is imminent. It could come as early as tonight, says Carl O'Kane, with a training session penciled in for this evening. And there's some other information in this as well. Dublin players have all been wearing GPSs while playing for their clubs, and apparently Connolly was spotted wearing a GPS system playing for St Vincent's during the April club month. It indicated that Connolly was being monitored with a view to a return to the Sky Blue setup. Yeah, that doesn't tally with the information that we had about the GPS. So we heard the same rumours about the GPS stuff, and then checked them out and couldn't stack them up, couldn't find anybody to say that was the case. In fact, found somebody to say that wasn't the case. So we didn't run with that. But just the speculation around Diarmuid Connolly is intensifying, it's fair to say. But I think it was because Jim Gavin said we would love to have him back. And like, we were looking back, you had asked Jim Gavin about whether or not, in the aftermath of the story that incorrectly said that Jason Sherlock was leaving the Dublin setup, when was that, February? February. Yeah, so you had gone down to the Kerry match, the Dublin-Kerry game in Tralee, and in the post-match Scrum had asked him specifically, like one of the other claims was doing the rounds at the time, that Brian Cullen had been training with Diarmuid Connolly. Yeah, one-to-one sessions apparently, I think was the report. Flat out denial. Yeah. That has not been happening. Yeah. I don't think this has been happening either, but the GPS as far as I know. But certainly that was not we'd love to have him back. That was like, no, that's not happening. Something seems to have changed in the tone. A massive shift in tone to, yeah, we would love to have him back, as opposed to. So that struck me as like Jim Gavin wants him back. Jim Gavin feels confident that it's going to happen in the next while. And really, the Football Championship needs it, right? Come on, the best player playing in the competition. no question, the Football Championship will be better off for it. Like, whether or not it needs it, I don't know. I'm staying optimistic. I'm kind of on your side of the fence here that it's going to be a lot better than last year, whether or not Diarmuid Connolly's in or out. But there's no question that a championship that involves Diarmuid Connolly is going to be a hell of a lot more exciting than one without him.
Yeah.
And let's not forget his age profile as well. Like, if he is going to come back at some point, we want him back sooner rather than later so that we get the most out of the last few years of his career.
Yeah. Is that a picture from the club game recently? Do we know? Is that this month? Is that picture taken this month? Because you can't see any GPS there, can you? You'd be able to tell because that kind of looks like you've got moves if you're wearing GPS. And I mean, he doesn't. So anyway, right. Mike Quirk, another season of provincial massacres will see calls for change grow deafening, which is a fair point. Is that the old rituals that in the Irish Times, not
basically
just a trip to let's get rid of the provincial championships?
I would need to actually just double check to see if that's what he's actually said.
Bolt from the blue. Companies bolt from the blue. Come on, lads, come on. We can do better. Seamus Bannon tweets us, if cometh the, with a K, special K, if cometh the hour, cometh the man, is that a headline read out on Off the Ball AM in the morning, then people aren't doing headlines right. Hashtag OTBAM, Seamus Bannon. Vincredible is the headline this morning on
Manchester Evening News.
Manchester Evening News. Skipper puts Blues on verge of title with stunner. Report, reaction, ratings. 44, 45, 46, 47. 4 pages. Is that all?
Really? It's actually not a lot at all.
No, come on. The Racing Post did 16 on Ruby. Come on.
The back page of the Mirror is we're going to win the league. Skipper stunner puts Blues on the brink. And Klopp's special brew. Teen star could get chance to inspire Euro miracle. And lights out for Ole. Dutch sensation Matthijs de Ligt has rejected a move to Manchester United. This was the big talk. Rio Ferdinand is director of football. His first port of call was going to be to go to de Ligt's house, knock on his door and hand him a blank cheque and say, you write whatever you want on this piece of paper and we'll pay you. It turns out he doesn't want to go to United.
This is more like it. Thunderstrike. We all know what they mean. They mean thunder bastards. That's what they mean in the Herald, but they can't say it because they've got a little bit of decorum. No Mo hope for Europe. Mo Salah out with concussion, so fair play to Liverpool for not risking him because, many other clubs would put him back out there. Klopp, we're not giving up on Dream. Jurgen Klopp had some good comments about failing more beautifully over the course of the week. And did we get to the Suarez story yet? No, it's next. Okay, go on.
The Sun leads with title winner. Skipper's rocket fires City top. I wonder will Brighton and Hove Albion have this sort of stuff up on the dressing room wall? Title winner. They think they've won the league. It did feel.
I would put it up on the dressing room wall in the City rooms. Like, oh, congratulations, big banners, champagne open on the table, all that kind of stuff. That's what I would do.
Smell the champagne. You can have a sip if you just get the job done here.
No, you don't even need to have it now. Sure, what do you need to do? Have as much as you want, lads.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Like, it did feel that Leicester City were playing with an enthusiasm last night for completely being party poopers. It helps that they're away from home.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they won't have that same atmosphere in the Amex because it's not the Etihad Stadium. Like that kind of sense that
if it's a sunny day, everybody's gone to the beach.
Yeah, like I'm sure there's plenty of people in that Leicester squad who would have just loved to have seen those smiles destroyed by Manchester City players last night.
Yeah, of course.
There is something in that, and there is something in going to the ground and actually trying to do that. Doesn't really work the same when you're at home.
You'd be heroes to your own team. What a great end to the season it would be, safe and crowning the champions, except somewhere else. So Captain Fantastic, it's all very sedate, isn't it?
Yeah, like what like Vincent Kompany. I guess if you're thinking about puns. There's a ton you could go to. Or maybe the sub-editors this morning are actually trying to bite their tongue. Maybe they're thinking we're saving all the good stuff for next Monday morning when it's officially confirmed.
Yeah, you're on to go to your last headline, Owen. Tell you.
But you may only have one good headline. I suppose you could recycle them again. We won't remember them next Monday.
Exactly. And Vincent Kompany's not going to be the man who does it next week. John Duggan had loads last night. Vincent Van Gogh, great company, Belgique Magnifique, company man, and Vincent Vegas.
Belgique Magnifique is my favourite.
Captain Fantastic is the headline in the Daily Telegraph. And silent striker, why Suarez will not celebrate if he scores for Barcelona at Anfield tonight. Because he already celebrated after he knocked you guys out in the first place. That's why. He's like, my job is done. He's already dead, is the Simpsons meme you're looking for.
The back page of the Irish Daily Mail goes with amateur power. Gavin is firmly against semi-professionalism, so he's launched a staunch defence of the amateur ideal, I should say, in light of recent comments by GPA executive Paul Flynn. He says we've over 20 clubs represented in our current squad. The pride that I know that is out there, and that's in every county, the pride that clubs will have looking at their players in every county throughout the island of Ireland, and indeed New York and London as well, to see their club players who they have taken from the cradle and brought all the way through. That's phenomenal. So players should be playing for pride, not for money. And one more win is their headline on Manchester City 1, Leicester City 0.
One more win. Anyway,
they need one more to actually win.
I know, I get it.
Is there like Q tourism going on from newspapers?
I don't know. It's the same. It's the same in all of them. Captain Fantastic, Captain Marvel. So Marvel is the slightly more up to date, just with what's going on with the. This is the Guardian. It's still kind of disappointing, right? I mean, come on.
Okay, so what are you going for? You've got 5 minutes to write a headline. This is going to be the biggest splash you ever do in Manchester City. What are you going for?
I don't know. I'm starting with my worst one is Company Man, and then I'm moving up after that. And it beats Captain Marvel, Captain Fantastic. I'm going with Thunder Bastard if I have my way, but obviously you can't.
Company Man is one of the most ordinary headlines you can.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a company's boat from the blue, or it's like Captain Marvel or Captain Fantastic. That's what I'm saying.
The Racing Post go with a match preview for the Champions League tonight. Red Herring is their headline on the back page. Liverpool likely to fall short of another miracle despite fast start. They're up against Barcelona at 8 o'clock.
Right.
Do you want to get into a couple of the stories this morning? The Irish Independent and
this one where Leinster are going to try and steal some of Munster's best players. What do you think of this story? How we'll talk with Ronan O'Gara this in a couple of minutes. How realistic do you think the prospect this is? That Leinster, who have quite a few scrum halves around this age, are looking at the under-20 team who won the Grand Slam?
Yeah.
And Casey, the scrum half from Munster.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, well, I mean, just ringing it up going, here, come on, Conor Murray's going to be around for another 12 years. You've got no chance getting into that team.
It's interesting timing, isn't it, given at the start of the year sending Nick McCarthy down to Munster?
Yeah, so is that next season?
Next season.
So next season there is a Leinster scrum half who's going to be on the bench fighting it out to be the number 2 to Conor Murray.
Mm-hmm. The detail, it's Cian Tracy who's obviously got information here, and he talks about Munster issuing a hands-off warning to Leinster. And apparently, according to this report, Leinster have actually attempted to sign Craig Casey. So Leo Cullen's a big admirer of him. He's 20 years old, and Munster have actually stepped in and they've been proactive about this, offering him offering him a development contract, I should say, a full senior deal set to be on the table for the following year after next year.
I mean, if they were being proactive, they would tie him down to a 3-year deal right now. That's how that works. That's what being proactive means. It's not like, here, we'll give you a development contract, because I'll give you more than a development contract.
Can they just throw around those contracts at will, though?
I think that you're not supposed to.
No.
You're not supposed to compete against each other. Oh, you're full-time. Well, if you think he's that good. If this was an English club coming in now, right, which could really happen, you would give him a proper full-time contract, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. Whereas because it's only an Irish club, you're like, he's not going to do that. That's not going to happen.
To be fair, he was a scrum half in a Grand Slam winning underage team. The chances of this guy reaching huge potential is obviously quite high, and there's obviously something that Leinster are seeing in this guy. Without being too defeatist from a Munster point of view, if Leinster are interested enough to make an approach for this guy, he's probably good enough for you to be interested enough to give him a lengthy enough deal, especially given he'll probably reach his peak just as Conor Murray is coming out of the red jersey.
Yeah, and I'd like to see what level that interest really was, but is it official? None of this stuff is ever official because you can't go on the record as saying, I want another team's players. You just can't do that. So that would suggest that it's come from back channels or leaks, and leaks on whose side, and ultimately who benefits from the leaks. Craig and his agents benefit from the leak. So we're starting to see this in rugby as much as we ever saw it in football. Probably not quite as much, but it's in. I would be really surprised if Leinster, beyond doing due diligence to go, what's the story? Is he staying? What's the length of his contract?
What if this actually happens? So, say in an imaginary world where Leinster are successful in signing Craig Casey, and say he joins them next season, does this kind of further? Does this like hammer home your idea that the rivalry between the two provinces is starting to wither away?
Well, I don't think Leinster should be taking 20-year-olds from Munster. I just don't think they should. Like, if he was 24 and couldn't get in the team because Conor Murray's there and decides he wants to leave, that's a different situation. But like, if you're taking the best young players, even though you already have the best academy system by a mile, like, it's not the right thing. And I don't think it's actually going to happen, because I think Leinster have 3 scrum halves around that age that they really rate.
And is that because, do you have that view because of the strength of Leinster's academy, or because of the fact that this is Leinster and that is Munster?
Well, what's the point of it being Leinster and Munster? What is the point of it? I'm asking, what is the point of having an identity if you just are going to go, it doesn't really matter. We're actually all just paid mercenaries plying our trade for a team. Because that's ultimately what the truth is, but you try and make that not be the case as much as you possibly can. It's why the Man United team that had the class of 92 on it will be the most beloved Man United team in the Premier League era. It's why the Busby Babes were the most beloved English football team, really. How many of that Liverpool team came through the academy system? Almost none. Today I'm trying to think of the great team from, I don't really remember the first Shankly era, that team at all. I don't know anything about them. But homegrown talent equals people believing this team is my team, and that's important.
Is this not just kind of a symptom of modern sport and modern rugby in general, rather than being a symptom of, Munster-Leinster tensions being at an all-time low, so therefore the rivalry is kind of dying between them?
But so you're actually talking about the same thing, right? They're not different things.
But like, why can't the rivalry maintain itself through decisions like this, when ultimately it is a small enough pool of Irish rugby talent?
Because then it's just a rivalry of fans, and that's fine. If that's what it is, it's just a rivalry of fans, and that's fine. But I
don't know. I thought the last time they played against each other, there was a good old rivalry of players going on there. But it's two decent fights.
Yeah.
No punches thrown. Granted, I'll give you that. There wasn't any uppercuts.
But they're all employees of the IRFU, right? And ultimately, that's the thing that you get reminded of. The veil gets dropped, the pretense gets dropped, and everybody's an IRFU employee to be moved around the board as chess pieces by David Nucifora, who is playing the Wizard of Oz, right? And if that's the long-term future for Irish rugby, it's hard to get too emotionally invested in it, right? That would be the case if, you've got these guys over here, and here, and then we know because they're professionals, because that's their job, they're going to do a really good job.
There are other ways of channeling an identity, and that is, getting behind the way Leinster are coached as opposed to the way Munster are coached. There is still a unique identity to both these provinces, no? Do you think, obviously your point is that it's not completely gone, but it is going in that direction?
Well, if you continue to do if we continue in the path, if this was to happen, who's going to be happy with that?
Would you be happy with this?
No, I said that. It's not the right thing.
Even if this guy's the next Conor Murray?
No, because it's your job as a team to try and create these things.
But it was that is Leinster doing their due diligence off the pitch, good scouting, good talent identification,
and that's exactly what.
And as I say, we're talking in complete hypotheticals
and
here.
That's their job, right? And that is their job. But that doesn't necessarily mean so they're doing the team who are employed to do that job are doing their job well, right? Like the Munster team who were doing the job when they were ringing up Joey Carbery and going, here, there's some talk of you joining Ulster. That's nonsense, right? You're not leaving Leinster, are you? Like, oh, well, actually, I'm thinking about it. All right, well, come down to us. Of course, you're in Munster in that situation when it's your job to win games. You're going to do that. But is it the right thing for the IRFU? I don't know. We'll see in the long run. I don't know.
It's as we say, there's probably the kind of situation at the end of this is where Munster do offer him a deal, and then ultimately kind of a full. A long-term deal then essentially after this, and the Craig Casey one is going to be one that divides people if it actually goes through. To be honest with you, this story is it too far off the way the Carbery story was in the very early throes of the newspaper cycle around 15 months ago? That seemed like an impossibility, and I think it's kind of more of a symbolic thing when we talk about the Munster-Leinster relations, what this story might represent.
Let's move on, because we've got the Champions Cup final live on News Talk at the weekend. and we'll bring you details of that a little bit later on in the show. But in the meantime, James Ryan has been out talking to the press. Here's Will O'Callaghan at the press conference talking about the threat that Saracens pose this weekend.
Yeah, I think we're, similar to last year, we're in a great spot at the moment. I think the answer to your question will probably be revealed over the next few weeks. But we're where we want to be. We want to be in finals rugby. We've got at least 2 knockout games now left, which is great for the fans, who I think we've been brilliant all season. We're feeling good in what is a great week for the club.
Yeah, we're just dropping the Robbie. He said there's definitely another gear in this team. What are your own thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've had a pretty steady progression since the Ulster game. I think we looked more cohesive and more of a unit against Toulouse. So hopefully that curve can keep going upward, because we're well aware that it's going to need a season's best performance this weekend. Saracens are a different beast to Toulouse. They're the only unbeaten team left in Europe. Defensively so strong, so we're going to need to crank it up a few notches this week.
It's 14 minutes past 8 this morning. Let's go to New Zealand and join Ronan O'Gara this morning. Ronan, how are you doing?
I'm in South Africa.
Very good.
Johannesburg.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. Not really, no, but I'm here. Life on the road, Super Rugby, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
how's it going? I'm just having some connection problems there. We'll come back to Ronan in 1 second in Johannesburg.
The time difference isn't too bad this morning for him.
No.
Actually, when you say good morning to him, for once it actually is morning time.
It is legitimately morning.
Have you been to Johannesburg?
No.
Neither have I.
No.
I'm not sure, was that like a loaded phrase from Ronan there about Johannesburg in general? We might get to the bottom of that before the end of this morning.
Or else we'll draw a discreet veil over it.
I'd say they're having a few issues trying to get him back. So when it comes to Ronan there, I think we're just about to re-establish him there. The Craig Casey one is one you want to chat to him about. Also as well, this Saturday when it comes to the Champions Cup final, are we excited? Is Tuesday too early to get absolutely buzzed about this thing, given the fact that it's potentially the greatest club game we've seen in recent years?
These games always disappoint in that they're always arm wrestles. Say that. So you don't want to get your hopes up too much for... actually, I don't really care if it's the worst game of all time.
Well, you don't care.
I don't. But you do. But I don't care if it's the worst game of all time, as long as the result is right.
Yeah, if you take last year's Champions Cup final, for example, wasn't exactly a classic, but...
It was an amazing game.
I would imagine as a Leinster fan it was an amazing experience, given that the way they sauntered through to the final last year and finally they had a bit of tension and it looked like things might actually run away from them in that encounter. It must have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah, well, when you win, and yet at the same time there was also calm that this team was going to manage to get things done. And then for Ethan Assewa to be the one who kicks the winning score in his last act for the team, having been such an amazing player over such a long period of time.
Vital that Teddy Thomas made that losing run as well.
It's out of the great teams put the weak links of the opposition under pressure. That's what happens, though.
There's a man who was not comfortable in chaos.
Well, when things are going well, if it's he's a pretty unique player, Teddy.
Yeah, he is. I was just using a good old Stuart Lancaster phrase there. Are they more comfortable in chaos this year or less comfortable in chaos?
Are you taking the piss?
No, not really. I wish I was comfortable in chaos.
I wish you were too.
It's just, being at one with chaos. If they did their top 5 favourite things, it'd be a selection of foods, music, and chaos would be number 1 on all those Leinster players' lists.
Go on, keep going.
No, I'm just...
keep talking yourself into issues here.
I'm just... they just have a great relationship with chaos.
All right, so, yeah, we've got Ronan back on the line. Ronan, good morning to you. How you doing?
Hi, Jar. Sorry, Skype isn't malfunctioning. My apologies.
Yeah, no worries about that. Look, there's a couple of things we wanted to talk to you about. Story in the Indo this morning about Craig Casey, the Munster scrum half, and Munster issuing a hands-off warning to Leinster. Have you seen this guy play that much? Is he a nailed on?
No, I actually don't. And I was listening to your conversation offline, and I think he raised some great points. I don't know anything about him, and I'm not aware of is he Cork or is he Limerick or what his background is. But if it makes the papers, usually it's a bit down the road, as Eoin said. So interesting developments. I think that's Munster can't let that happen. I think it's really important that the best young players are kept in the process. And I don't think anything related to Joey Carey. This is a guy who had never come out of an underage campaign, and so much is in front of him. But the question I have to ask is, what jersey does he want to wear? It could mean an awful lot to him. You would hope if he wants to play for Munster, but if he has indecision about a blue or a red jersey, then Munster might be better off letting him go if that's the way he's thinking.
Yeah, he's from Limerick. He went to Arts School Reach. I suspect that there's definitely he wants to be a Munster player. It's interesting. You never know.
Yeah, you'd hope so. That should mean a lot, and it's very powerful. I think. There are so many games around the world where it is being diluted for the benefit of national performance, but I think that Munster-Leinster rivalry needs to be kept where it was. It's probably diluted over the years, but I think it makes our game really, really strong, and it's a massive strength of as a result, getting the provincial system at the rivalry as intense and competitive as it was. I think that adds huge value to rugby in Ireland. If you're diluting that for a green jersey, then I think you're weakening the system big time. Yeah,
totally. And I think that players like Craig Casey, who are homegrown, they need to be shown that there's a pathway and it's worthwhile staying at Munster.
Well, exactly. Hopefully he can be the next Conor Murray in his eyes. He's a young boy, Arts School Reach, Paul O'Connor's old school. I think all those boys that played rugby from secondary school, I'd say they'd want to dream of playing big moments in Thomond Park. But obviously, it's a professional game, a ruthless game. If the scouts see that this guy is an unbelievable practice, they're absolutely dead right to chance their arm to try and get him.
Yeah, that's exactly what Leinster did. But you would assume the RFU will step in and say, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, well, then you don't know is the fact that is there a family member that is from the Leinster area? Is there something that has broken down in Munster? Is he sour about something there? You just don't know what's happening, I suppose, behind the scenes. But if Munster aren't getting a key youth talent, if they're not getting there, I suppose their succession planning right for that, it'll be bitterly disappointing for I suppose the senior members in the team that want, the lifeblood of the team is local lads from the area, and that's always been a strength of the provinces for the last 20 years.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Benetton game at the weekend. There's been loads of times where a home favourite struggles to get through against an underdog in cup matches because it's a cup match. How much do we need to read into the quality of the performance and the threat that Benetton were still posing at the end? Because they had 2 attempts at drop goals to win the match at the end.
Yeah, they probably deserved to win from the little bit I saw of it. It's perfect.
Just having trouble with the phone line there now as well. So I see the telecommunications are letting us down to Johannesburg this morning.
It's not on our end, is it?
It could be. That was a bit colonial imperialist of me. Ronan, sorry, you were saying from the little bits.
Reception is terrible. It has been all week, sure. It's not just you.
There you go. We're gone again. There you go. It's like those calls they were making to Neil Armstrong.
You can try fill in the blanks.
One giant step for telecommunications in Johannesburg.
It's like that's what they say about one of the biggest challenges for travelling to Mars at the moment is mere communication, that they're just too far away and the messages just take too long to relay forward and back. So this is kind of like being involved in SpaceX right now.
Yeah.
The message is just taking too long to transfer over and back to Johannesburg.
Could they not just put a satellite bounce it from one way to the other?
I'm sure they've tried that. I definitely know that one of the big issues is maybe it's not Mars, maybe it's further than Mars, but it's simply just too far away that even at the speed of sound, it just isn't going to. It takes like 20 minutes, half an hour for one message to actually relay back to Earth.
Just do a WhatsApp voice message, and that's the way to do it. You can't have these conversations. Sorry, we got Ronan back anyway, saving us from our own idiocy here. Ronan, we're talking about the Benetton game at the weekend, and you said there that Benetton deserved to win from the little bit that you saw. So how worried would you be about Munster's performance?
Probably.
Right. We'll try one more time, and then we'll just we'll stick a pin in it at the end of that.
You can always just ring the hotel phone or whatever he is, wherever he is. I'm sure the landlines in South Africa are still good quality. What were you talking about?
It's about Munster identity.
Yeah, that was actually some good stuff. Is that like you gave me the kind of look there that Rog agrees with you, so you're right?
Well, I'm just saying it's interesting that the point that you've been banging the drum for, that all of this is irrelevant. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I've been banging the drum for the fact that the rivalry is still alive and well.
Okay, living in a perpetual now is a wonderful state to be in, but what about the future, Eoin? What about what comes next? What about next week and next year and the year after that and the year after that? If stuff is built, if your foundations are built on sand, see, I get to do the Three Little Pigs again and again and again and again to the point where eventually the message seeps into you. You need good foundations. You just need good foundations on things. That's like...
Well, ultimately, the Three Little Pigs was predicated on the fact that the different structures kind of stayed. So I think all the foundations were the same in the Three Little Pigs.
Do you have a good structure or not? Well, no. You can't build a house made from bricks, but just because in the cartoon it looks like you can build off the ground, you can't. You actually need...
I'm pretty sure there's no mention of foundation in the Three Little Pigs. It's all about the actual structure of the house.
If there were no foundations, you could walk over and push the wall over.
Yeah, true.
So there were. It's like it's implied.
It doesn't. It's not actually mentioned in that particular fairy tale. I'm saying that in the here and now, in the here and now, we are almost in this futuristic version of kind of a fluid motion between two provinces. And
you must be feeling pretty confident as a Munster fan that they're going to turn Leinster over in the semi-final of the Pro 14.
Why would I be confident about that? It's in the RDS. The fact is that it's after the Champions Cup final.
Yeah, you must be pretty confident.
If it was this weekend, or if Leinster didn't have to partake in a Champions Cup final, of course I wouldn't. But
they do, so...
Okay, so that's going to be a huge part of it. Like, I don't know, when we were going to get into the Treviso game with Ronan there, and hopefully we do get him back, because, like, really, that was a huge bullet dodged by Munster. I don't care what anybody says. Like, you can dress this up as, they managed to battle through adversity against, admittedly, a very, very good Treviso team. They didn't get to a Pro 14 quarter-final by being a crap team. This is an excellent team, as good an Italian team as we've seen in the Pro 14 in years and years and years. That being said, they had 2 drop goal attempts to win the game. JJ Hanrahan had to land a monster kick to win the game for Munster. Munster's attack, once again, failing to impress. Kind of Liam Toland and Donnacha O'Callaghan in commentary were quite illuminating. Their frustration was quite clear to hear, that the first receiver gets the ball, runs the ball, and there isn't a whole pile of creativity beyond that. It's a huge issue for Munster, and the attack coach is one of the biggest appointments now in Irish rugby over the next few months.
Yeah, so Rob Howley's been linked with it.
Yeah, that's been moved. I would say Van Graan moved to quash that a little bit, but he's actually just saying that nobody's actually getting the job just yet, and it does seem that that's a fairly well sourced story. Rob Howley will be not only a great appointment for Munster, I think, but it's also another nail in the coffin for Welsh coaches. Like, I mean, we seem to be picking them off at the moment. Like, when it comes to Welsh talent being able to win at international level despite the failings of their club teams, you just like to think, how good would the Wales team actually be if they had their club structure in order and they managed to keep all their best coaches at home? Yeah,
but they've got their academy system sorted out in the last couple of years, so over the next couple of, say, 5 years, you should expect this throughput of talent coming through the Welsh academies. It's absolutely sensational. We did a piece about 18 months ago about the talent and the skill sets of the 12, 14, 16-year-olds coming through at the moment, and apparently it's off the charts.
Really?
The bit where their front five are like passing the ball, already we think they're very good at it. Apparently, like, they're like all black level of talent. So let's move on. We won't be getting Ronan O'Gara back this morning. Sorry, the communication system isn't working properly at the moment, so apologies about that. We'll definitely get him back during the week to talk more about last weekend's difficult enough victory for Munster against Benetton, and also to preview the Champions Cup final at the weekend. Now, let's move on, because we're going to talk about Eugene McGee in a moment. I want to bring you this first. Derek McGrath spoke off the ball about who he fancies in this year's Munster Hurling Championship. Have a look.
I fancy Tip to come through, and I fancy Limerick to come through. So that would, at this stage, I'm cheeky enough or impudent enough to say that Cork and Clare won't come through. And the reason I'm saying it is I think Clare remind me of ourselves in 2017 in that the winter this year, all I heard was Clare were that close, Shanahan goal, blah, blah, blah. I think David Reedy is a significant loss to Clare. I think it hasn't been muted much. I think he's a good player. Conor McGrath, and I see Ian Galvin is out as well. So I think Clare might make it on the back of expectation, kind of, nearly kind of just having their dip year. I think it might come. And it's very ironic that I'm actually mentioning that Cork mightn't get there, because if Shamie Harnedy takes another yard around Nicky Quaid, they're in the All-Ireland final and they're possibly winning the All-Ireland final. But I just think they finished up their club scenario only last Sunday week, and so they have 2.5 weeks preparation for the game, as opposed to Tipperary, who have had a 5 or 6 week run in. Waterford have had 5 or 6 weeks running, and Cork's forward line is probably the best forward line out there. If you have Cadigan, Horgan, Lahan, who am I missing? I'm missing up someone very, very obviously. Shane Kingston, Luke Meade, Shamie Harnedy, and Daniel Carney. If you have that forward line, it's very, very potent. But I just have a feeling, given the fixture list, you have Tip and Cork in the first game, and then Cork have to go to Limerick in the second game. So if Tip were to win that, I think Limerick might beat Cork in the next match, which means the Cork-Waterford game is a knockout game, possibly for both teams.
Yeah.
So I think what will happen this year is, I think there will be someone go out on head-to-head this year, and there'll be someone go out on even 4 points. 4 points might be the most the winning team has, and it might be 4-4-2. So that's as good a prediction.
You've thought about it anyways.
I have. Jeez, I have, because I've gone through, in my own head, I was kind of saying what might happen, but it's just, you have to put the caveat in for anyone predicting that. I think there'll be egg on everyone's face, every pundit, or every player or every passionate fan. There'll be egg on everyone's face.
That's Derek McGrath speaking at the weekend with Nathan about the hurling championship. Let's move on. The sad news came through at the weekend that Eugene McGee, a GAA legend, had passed away. I'm delighted that we have the opportunity now to spend some time in the company of Eoin Liston talking about his memories of Eugene McGee. Eoin, you obviously had the 5 in a row thwarted by Eugene's Offaly team, but I guess also you had the opportunity to work with him as manager of the Compromise Rules team, so you got to know Eugene quite well.
That's right, Joe. First of all, I'd like to just take this opportunity of offering my sympathies to his wife Marion, his daughter Linda and son Connor. But getting back to your point, I was absolutely delighted to have the opportunity of seeing him up close in the dressing room, travelling over to Australia to take on the Australians and to see how he operated. And I must say I really enjoyed seeing him up close and being in his company, and it was really great.
Yeah, was there any rivalry between you guys, given that he'd stopped the 5 in a row with that Offaly team? Did that take a little bit of a time to get over?
Not really, no. He was always very friendly with a lot of the Kerry lads. He had trained Ogie, John O'Keefe, Jackie and Barry Walsh. In his UCD days that time, he was really quality coach. That was the feedback from the lads, that he was training them at 6:30 in the morning when they were with UCD, and they had huge respect for him. So then we were always known well that any team that he was involved with was going to be well prepared and well organised, and but he proved that with that Offaly team, that like they got to Leinster semi, they lost the Leinster semi, came back and won it. They got to Leinster final and lost, and came back and won one. Got to an All-Ireland semi-final, lost it and came back and won one. Got to an All-Ireland final and lost and came back and won the one in 82. So that just shows you the progression. And was he learning from mistakes? Was he learning, improving the team? Absolutely. He was a superb coach. And as I say, we saw that ourselves out in Australia in 1990.
It's funny when you look back, and it's hard to put ourselves back in the mindset of that time. Michael Foley's book definitely really helped people kind of get a picture of exactly what the build-up to that was like, certainly from the Offaly side. The cult of the manager didn't really exist in the way that it does today. It was kind of just coming into relief, I suppose, with Heffo's Army and Miko really becoming two of the absolute titanic figures that they end up becoming. But there's definitely room there for Eugene McGee when you talk about the birth of the manager being central to how we talk about teams, and having a philosophy and a style that they're bringing to bear, as opposed to just preparing 15 individuals and saying, go out, win your battles and you'll all be grand.
Yeah, well, his style was really about empowering players it was the first time I had seen where he broke the team up into different groups. If we played a challenge match, he'd break the team up into groups, get the feedback, analyse the feedback, and come back with a plan. Scientific approach, and it's kind of done everywhere now, but he was the first person that I saw and witnessed that. And he was a hard fella to pull the wool over his eyes. He was, you could see that he was held in huge respect by all the players, like the qualities that he had of honesty, integrity, knowledgeable. He was straight talking, but kind and friendly. And I remember that time even, he wanted to take a kind of a step back a bit and had someone else doing the training and the football, and the players just weren't having it. They just went to Robbie O'Malley and said, look, Robbie, we want Eugene down here. We want to learn from him. We want to improve. And that was the respect the players had for him that time.
Quite often when you go on those trips abroad, Owen, I'd imagine the night times are quite enjoyable excursions when you're abroad like that. How did Eugene reflect on those sort of moments?
Eugene, you could see he had been involved in teams quite a bit, and he had no problem with, there was a time to have fun and there was time to have serious preparation, and he knew the time when the players needed a bit of a blowout. He knew and took part in it and enjoyed watching the lads having fun, but he knew then exactly when to crack the whip and when to get down to serious stuff, like any good manager would know. And I can just tell you how he was hard to pull the wool over his eyes, because I was 33 at the time. I was very anxious to retire, but I wanted to get a last trip to Australia. And I remember I had Jacko in trials there, had him tipped off where I wanted the ball and to make sure he was playing the ball into me. And I played a couple of good trials, and I knew I had a good chance of making it, but he didn't pick me. He put me on this training panel just to make sure that I didn't come out in totally bad shape, and he was smart, very intelligent man, and he knew how to get the best out of people, and just the respect that I saw firsthand from every single one of the players on that trip, and the way he interacted with them and got to know them and see what makes them tick, and and I'm absolutely certain every one of them would have had a great relationship with him for the rest of his life,
Yeah, I think the other thing too is that those trips were all successful. Did you guys win all of your trips down under, or what was the story?
That was the 1990 trip, yeah. It was, I don't know, was it 3 matches or 4 trial tests that time, but Ireland won each of the tests.
Yeah, that's kind of, for many people, the golden era of the compromise rules, and it was still compromise rules as opposed to the international rules. And I don't know if it was just Jacko, but certainly you guys had the cut-off vests, and the jerseys were cool. And it was the first time we'd ever kind of seen you guys all playing together in a meaningful game, because at that stage too, the interprovincial competitions, the Railway Cup, had kind of disappeared from public consciousness properly. So that was a great team. It must have been an amazing trip to be on.
It was an amazing trip, and you made friends for life. That was the beauty of it. Stephen O'Brien, I think, was only 19 at the time. I was 33 at the time, but we were still massive friends. And there was some just great to meet the players in a social environment and in a professional environment as well, and to get to know them and see how they operate. And sure, that's what the whole thing is about at the end of the day. When you meet up after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you can pick up straight away where you left off, that's the beauty of sport.
Yeah. Was there some talk at some point that maybe they were going to compromise on the shape of the ball, that you guys were going to actually play with an Aussie rules ball in one of the games?
That would have been, I'd say, going back in 1981, we were out there as well with the Kerry team, and we had played against the Bulldogs, and in the first half we had hammered them with the round ball, and then they switched to the oval ball, and they had hammered us in the second half. But there was talk of that, but everyone knew that if we had switched to the oval ball, we'd have been hammered. The skill level of the Australians with that oval ball was just superb and so far beyond, and their fitness levels were beyond. It was a great achievement to be able to compete and to come up with a game that you could really have a good contest. And the biggest advantage was that they were finding it difficult to judge the trajectory of their own ball, you know.
Seamus Darby is obviously the player and person, I guess, most commonly associated with that moment in GAA history that I'm sure you guys are sick to the back teeth of talking about. But where does Eugene stand for Kerry people in that whole drama?
Oh, we look, being quite honest, we were gutted at the time. I personally had never lost a championship match up until that match, and it was my first kind of experience of losing an All-Ireland final, and you were gutted absolutely for a good few weeks after. But you know, when we look back on it and try to analyse it, it just showed me again, like, Eugene was such a good tactician. It was a few of the ploys that we had were used against us with just a little bit of variation. For example, we had a tactic that time. Pat Spillane had begun out roaming, so Mike Sheahan or John Egan would be on my right. He'd go out and we'd create space in one of the corners, knowing that the ball would be kicked in there, and I'd run out and get it and let off the fellas coming in. That same ploy, only it wasn't the full forward Matt Connor that was shooting out to the corner. It was Johnny Mooney used to go across to pick up the ball. But like, he had seen what was working and what we had developed, and then he brought a variation to it. Like, that's good coaching, and that's the genius that he was, you know.
Yeah, so was there stuff that was unexpected on the day itself that you can kind of remember at the time going, oh, these guys are a bit better than we thought they were?
Well, we knew they were good because they had given us a right good game in the All-Ireland semi-final and final the previous years. And we knew that they had some fantastic players, like, you know, Matt Connor was just a genius on the football field. So we knew that they had right good players. But you know what? He had the guts. Like, his half-back line that time, every single one of them, Matt Lowry, or Sean Lowry and Currens and Pat Fitzgerald, you know, each one of them went up and got a point in the first half. They weren't afraid. They took us on and weren't just sitting back waiting for us to come at them. And it was a great game, and they deserved their win. And look, we've got over it well at this stage now, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you did all right for the next couple of years anyway. Eoin, thanks a million for joining us this morning and sharing your memories of Eugene with us.
Not at all, pleasure.
It's Eoin the Bomber Liston talking about Eugene McGee, who sadly passed away at the weekend. I just want to add the bit that, like, everybody's been talking about Eugene's generosity. He was endlessly generous to us here when we were getting up and running and started out. And I remember when we were looking for rights for the first time to break the monopoly that RTE Radio had, we canvassed various grandees of the GAA to ask them to write a letter for support for us, and Eugene came back straight away with like a 3-page letter saying that, you know, you need to give these guys a chance here, and it was the type of thing where he lent the power of his reputation to us as a young team, and we were obviously always grateful for that. So you know, he definitely had a sense that he wanted to pay things forward in the school of journalism, and that's why we were always more than happy to pick the phone up to Eugene and go, here, listen, come on in and spend some time with us. And he was always endlessly generous with his time as well. So, yeah, I hope that a little bit of the outpouring that has happened over the last couple of days kind of reflects the position that he held for so many people, that, you know, because frequently we wait until people die to tell them that they're great, and I hope that Eugene had a sense of that beforehand. Sean Boylan is on the line with us this morning to give us his thoughts. Sean, we were just hearing, good morning to you first, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Just a pleasure.
We were just hearing from Eoin Liston there about the international rules trips that they would have been on, and of course, obviously the Kerry lads going up against Eugene, who denied them the 5 in a row. Sure, he says there was it didn't even matter, that like they were over it straight away pretty much.
Yeah, it was, and that's absolutely true, and I suppose it was a measure of the man, a measure of the Kerry lads as well. But I had to tell you, lads, it was awful sad. I couldn't believe it when I heard it, because in ways Eugene was so serious, you know, and yet on a 1-to-1 he was a very witty man, and there was good crack in him on a 1-to-1. But I can't believe that he's been taken so quick, because he was a resilient character. Ironically, a couple of years ago, the two of us picked up a virus and we ended up in the Bond Score. And this was Eugene. And he was, you know, he said, Sean, I'm grand, except this phone, it never stops ringing. And I said, Eugene, would you ever think of turning it off? I wouldn't like to do that, he said, in case someone's in trouble. I said, Eugene, you're the ones in trouble now. Turn it off, right? And that's and that's the sort he was. He wouldn't be offensive. Incredibly driven man. What he achieved, both with the lads with Sigerson, what he achieved sort of with Offaly was absolutely immeasurable. Like at the time, it's very hard for people talk about the way Dublin are today. And here was a team, so amazingly good. And yes, he never deviated from what he thought was going to win it. And he got the lads to believe in it more than anything else in the world. And the way they achieved it, I always remember up in the Hogan stand when, Kerry got the penalty. And I remember saying to the person that was beside me, I said, look, there's no way in hell if the whole lot of the Kerry lads were taking this penalty is Martin Furlong letting that into the net. You know what I mean? There was sort of it was a competitive defiance that was in Offaly at the time. And like having found Pat Dunn for the middle of the field and the big long arms of Pat, do you know what I mean? And it was so many things that he put together. But he was lucky in this way that Father Sean Heaney, he knew what Eugene had, and he backed him the whole way. And you can imagine, you have success at Leinster level, and you've had some great matches, and you're getting to the All-Ireland final, and you're being beaten. And yes, Father Sean knew that if Eugene is there, these boys will pull it off, and of course that was absolutely true. But to achieve excellence there, but what he did as an administrator, as a thinker about the game, what he did as a writer, in every walk of life he was extraordinary. Even the last general election, Connie Gertie was standing for Fianna Fáil below in Longford. There was another man standing for Fine Gael below in Longford, and he wanted them, the ones and twos, to go to them so that they have a TD in Longford. And of course it didn't work out. The parties wouldn't allow it, right? So Longford have no TD. You know what I mean? But it was for Longford, and what was right for Longford, and what was right for everything he ever did. That's the way Eugene was. He just went at it wholeheartedly, and in a way he couldn't let go of it. So to Marion and Conor and sister, it's just such a tragedy for them. I'm awful sorry.
Yeah. Sean, to go back to the bit that you were talking about, it's very hard, I think, for anybody to get their head around the notion that Offaly could build year after year after year after year to get to the point where they were All-Ireland contenders when you consider just the size of the population that the county has and where we are now. But if you were to go back to that time and that era, how important was it that you were able to look at somebody like what Eugene had done with Offaly and talk to your Meath team about, look what these lads are doing? Like, it's not,
Well, I would have talked always about Mick O'Dwyer, Kevin Heffron and Eugene McGee. And Kevin Godby go to him, will understand it. I know Mick does understand it. After they won the All-Ireland, he was in charge of Leinster. And in a challenge match, he played Meath. And he must have spent an hour talking to me. Remember, they're All-Ireland champions. You know what I mean? Offaly are All-Ireland champions. And he must have spent an hour talking to me. And I will never forget the words of wisdom, the words of advice, the calmness that was there, the matter-of-fact way he had it going on. And I would always have been terribly thankful to him for, first of all, I was a rookie. I was only starting off, you know what I mean, that he acknowledged you. But he spoke to you as if you were after winning an All-Ireland yourself, you know what I mean? And I love that about him. In other words, that if you were looking after my mother's county, Leitrim, or you were looking after, Antrim in football or whatever it was, Eugene spoke to you as if you were Kerry or Dublin or Offaly or Cork. Do you understand?
Yeah.
He spoke to you on that level, and he made you think like that. And I'd be forever grateful to him for that.
Sean, thanks a million for joining us this morning and sharing your memories as well.
Gerald, thanks very much, lads, and thank you so much.
Sean Boylan giving us some thoughts there, and we'd also like to pass on our condolences to everybody in the family, and particularly to Conor, who worked with us here for a while, about 5 or 6 years ago. We know him really well, and we obviously hope that himself and his sister and his mum are doing well. Let's move on. It's time for us to talk about some of the other stuff that happened over the course of the weekend. After Arsenal's latest capitulation, this time to Brighton, their captain Shane Duffy spoke to Nathan Murphy about the title race and linking up with Ireland.
At the end of the day, we all know the importance of the game, so we've just got to go and focus on ourselves, try and win the game for us, and that's what we're going to do. Listen, they're a top team. We've already played them twice this year, and we know their strengths. So whoever wins the leagues will be winners. So hopefully we just go and win our game, and we'll give it a bang.
And looking forward then to a nice week in Portugal with Mick McCarthy finally getting to properly spend some time in the training pitch and a bit of a revenge mission against Denmark.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously it's been a long season, so a little break after and then a week off, and then we meet up and he can get his proper ideas across and what he really wants, spend a lot of time in the training pitch, and that's exactly what we want. We know the 2 games coming up are huge, and we're all excited obviously after the last 2 results, and one we're all looking forward to. Hopefully a few players back fit and we can get going, and hopefully obviously these 2 games are huge for us, and Denmark again, so yeah, one to look forward to.
I'd say that last 15-20 minutes is the type of performance Mick McCarthy in particular would approve of.
Yeah, I don't know about that. As long as I feel like we're doing alright for the team, that's the most important thing, and if I get a chance to play, hopefully I can put another good performance on.
It's Shane Duffy in conversation with our own Nathan Murphy, who joins us on the line this morning to give us his take on what happened last night. Nathan, it's been a fairly remarkable title run-in, and ultimately what we're going to remember is a few key moments, and definitely what we're going to remember is Vincent Kompany's Thunder Bastard from last night.
That's for sure. I think it's right up there in terms of iconic Premier League moments. When you talk of great goals, like, the context always needs to come into it, and to be able to do that from 25 yards out, the captain of the team, this sort of spiritual leader of Manchester City, the one good guy in the Manchester City team over the last 10 years, and out of nothing. Watching it last night, for some reason, I assumed it was flashing 2 yards just wide, as these sort of shots generally do, but like, it was that postage stamp of the top corner, and it looks as though it's going to win them the league. It's hard to see Manchester City not winning away against Brighton. And just the timing of it as well. The 5-6 minutes beforehand, you got the sense City were getting a bit frustrated, that Leicester were growing in confidence, that there was a sense, yeah, this is the night, even not winning the game, but that they were going to hold out, and Kasper Schmeichel was just making save after save. So to step up and score a goal like that, even if I'm not quite sure his teammates were shouting, "Don't shoot," the way he seems to have been imagining it, I presume that's something that maybe he's remembering from training when he got into similar positions. But yeah, it was an unbelievable goal, and what a goal to win the league. And listen, he obviously scored an unbelievable goal back in 2012 against Manchester United. The header that time, it was just as important in terms of winning the league. And he's been an unbelievable player. And even the way he's battled back into the Manchester City team this year has been impressive, because it looked for a long part of the season as though John Stones and Aymeric Laporte were not just the City centre-half partnership for this season, but for the next 4 or 5 years. But it's probably testament to his character that during this run, Pep Guardiola's relied on him a lot, because I think just for that experience of getting away with things and being able to marshal everybody else, the amount of fouls Vincent Kompany gets away with. Even you talk about moments in a title race, thinking back to that game against Liverpool at the start of the year at the Etihad, where it should have been sent off. But again, because it's Vincent Kompany, because he's a good guy, because he's a nice fella, yeah, he'd need to do something. He'd need to decapitate somebody.
But I was just about to say, I mean, the nice guy veneer is such a good weapon to have when you're a centre back who likes to play on the edge a little bit. Absolutely. And, well, the nice guy veneer, and also being around for a decade, being the captain of a big team, grants you a certain amount of leeway. Even, did Wayne Rooney have a nice guy veneer? He still got away with absolute murder at times because of his reputation, because he was the leader of this giant club. But being a nice guy always gets you away with things. Look at David Silva last night. Probably very lucky as well not to have received a second yellow card. There's no way David Silva's going to mean to chop somebody down in midfield. It was purely an accident. Why would you book him a second time? And again, last night, City's tactical fouling is exceptional. Saw it against Burnley. Like Raheem Sterling last week when we were at Turf Moor. 3 or 4 times. And all these teams, remember, are playing on the counter-attack against Manchester City. So the key moment for all their opposition is when they somehow steal the ball back off Manchester City on the edge of their own area and try and bomb forward at speed. And time after time after time, a City player cynically hauls them down and just gets away with giving the free kick. There's rarely a yellow card. There's certainly not 2 yellow cards coming for this. And it's a good game plan. It works for them. And I don't have a major issue with it because it's what good teams do.
Yeah, it's funny that Mike Dean didn't know this, though, that we all knew about it because Jurgen Klopp have been talking about it in the press.
I'm sure he does. Does that work the trick, or then are you thinking, if I send him off here, am I going to be responding to Jurgen Klopp, and then Pep Guardiola comes out? Whereas actually, by doing nothing, everybody just sort of moves on and doesn't think about it. Whereas he sends off David Silva, suddenly there's this, whoa, is he responding to Jurgen Klopp? Suddenly he's in the news for a couple of days. Maybe Mike Dean does want that.
Exactly.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's also doing his job. He would just be doing his job.
Yeah, constantly. You can pick a dozen examples, and I'm sure it's not just Manchester City who you can pick these examples from, of players who've been booked, giving away very cynical frees in around midfield that otherwise would be a definite booking.
Yeah.
But Manchester City just seem to be better at it than everybody else.
I do want to ask if the luckiest man in the world at the moment is Kelechi Iheanacho, that goal was such an amazing goal, so we're all talking about that if that had been a scratchy, if he'd arsed it in from 2 yards, Vincent Kompany last night, would the headlines be about him, or would it be about Kelechi's miss?
Possibly. It was a shocker. Like, he never even got close, was the other thing. His technique was all wrong, and against his former club. Was the desire there, the Jamie Vardy-like desire? It was the one thing last night that Jamie Vardy never had a chance. That the opportunities for Manchester City, for all the talk and the build-up, none of them fell for Leicester, that fell to Jamie Vardy. There was a couple of half chances. There was a bad decision at one stage by James Maddison where he took the shot on himself and he probably should have passed to Mark Albrighton. But this is what great teams do. Players miss chances they would otherwise take against great teams because they feel the pressure, because they know they're only going to get one opportunity. So you're relying on Iheanacho to win you the title, as I think Manchester City have found out previously. It's not going to go too well for you.
No. How do Liverpool feel at the end of a season like this, where it looks now like they're going to crash out at the semi-final stage of the Champions League and they're going to end up just short, despite the fact that they've hit record-breaking levels of quality across the 38 games of that season and the extra 10 or 12 in the Champions League?
I think on Sunday, if they beat Wolves and Manchester City go to Brighton and win, I think it will be devastation. I think Liverpool supporters are trying to G themselves up into feeling that, well, this isn't a one-off, that unlike 5 years ago and 10 years ago in their previous title challenges, that actually this is sustainable, that they can come back, they're building something greater, building something more long-term. But I think there'll be a realisation at full time that this is a sort of opportunity to get to 97 points and not win the title. You can enjoy the journey, and there have been so many memorable moments, from Origi's goal against Everton, the late own goal against Tottenham, even the game against Manchester City, and the loss, the quality that Liverpool have got to in the league this season. But you have to be, whether you lose by 1 point or 50 points, the disappointment is the same. And yeah, you can go back to the journey, but I think on Sunday night it'll be utter devastation. And I'm always wary in football of saying next season Liverpool can continue this. You just don't know. Real Madrid are going to spend big. What if they don't get one of their targets? What if somehow it falls apart with Eden Hazard and they decide Sadio Mane or Mo Salah are our guy and we're going to spend 150 million? It doesn't take a lot. One injury for one of those players and suddenly next season's a whole lot more difficult. And there's no reason to say that Manchester City are going to stall. You're going into next season again thinking, probably need to get over 90 points to win the title. Liverpool have got over 90 points once ever this year. So to do it back-to-back would be pretty much unprecedented for them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was a brief moment. It does feel like they're building, though. It feels like they've got their defence sorted, they've got the goalkeeper sorted, they've strengthened depth in midfield. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is coming back, and they will continue to spend. We know that there's a bunch of players that they've had their eyes on, some of whom are already on their way. We just know that the club is being managed properly.
Yeah, it is. They obviously made a record-breaking profit recently as well. Jurgen Klopp over the last few weeks has sort of been talking it down, suggesting that don't expect the sort of spending of the last 18 months, which I guess is understandable when they spent 130 million between Van Dijk and Alisson. But if they do reinforce the midfield, which looks to be the most important area, as well as Fabinho and Keita have done as the season have gone on, you would still look and think they need to purchase somebody in there. And I do think they will be contending over the next 2 or 3 years, particularly in the Champions League. I think they're there in the Champions League, and their style of football serves them so well in the Champions League.
Don't they actually need a striker more? Sorry to interrupt. Don't they actually need a striker more for the times when someone is injured or unavailable? It's like, so when Firmino is out, the next, it's like we're going to push a midfielder forward and change our style to be more pressing, and that's what's important for it. Like, it's actually, you know, some of those players who early in the season we thought were going to be much better and more important come the title race haven't actually panned out the way Shaqiri, and notwithstanding the Origi goal that you talked about, he's really not quite good enough at this point.
No, I don't think any of Sturridge, Origi or Shaqiri are probably quite at the level, even though if Liverpool somehow do win the league, you look back on all three moments from them: Shaqiri against United, Sturridge against Chelsea, and obviously Origi a couple of times this season as pivotal moments. The question is, who do you buy? Like, who are you looking for to be the fourth of the three? Are you looking at Ajax? Are you looking at somebody like Ziyech at Ajax, or De Beek that can come in and is young, is energetic, is putting pressure on, and you're actually looking at that front three and saying, well, for one of you, this is your last season because this guy's ready. He's ready and waiting. So maybe that is the tack. And the one thing Liverpool have done brilliantly in the transfer market is they've done it under the radar. So don't be surprised if on Monday, when all the disappointment is there of not winning the title, if Liverpool come out with a big transfer announcement, if they've it ready, they've it waiting, it's already done and dusted. It's hard to find strikers. Every team are looking for strikers. Manchester City are surely looking for somebody to replace Sergio Aguero because Gabriel Jesus has just stalled over the last 18 months. And I guess City is the example of, we would have thought this time last year that Leroy Sané was the man for Manchester City. But actually, Pep Guardiola had the option when he saw that maybe things weren't going well for Sané to bring in Bernardo Silva, who's been up there with Aguero and Raheem Sterling as their player of the season. Whether Liverpool can ever get to the strength and depth of Manchester City, it's hard to know. But yeah, you'd expect they'll go and I think they'll buy a midfielder and probably some sort of a front three player. And they'll probably get rid of a lot of players. But the one thing Liverpool have done better than anybody is garnering value out of these fringe players, selling players who played once or twice for a club for 15, 20 million. You even look this week, Ryan Kent, who's on loan at Rangers, was named the Scottish Young Player of the Year. Suddenly I'd say Liverpool are looking at him as, 15 million worth of talent. That all adds up into giving themselves a nice little bit of cash.
Yeah, okay. Is there any hope that Brighton, I mean, you obviously have just seen them play, they're not good enough to do anything really, are they?
No, it was a terrible game in some ways, quality-wise, against Arsenal on Sunday, and Brighton had chances in the second half to win it, but Arsenal also cut them apart time and time again with the sort of passages of play that Manchester City do with such ease. And Duffy and Dunk, like Shane Duffy in the last 20 minutes, I would say Dunk was like monstrous stuff, like the amount of big headers he won to keep Arsenal at bay. City are just going to try and play around that. They'll just keep it on the ground. And I guess you think back to 2012 and everybody thought it would be very straightforward for Manchester City against Queen's Park Rangers, and there were nerves. It was obviously a different time. It was their first title that they were going for. But this time it's away from home. They don't need to lose the game. Like, that is the one little glimmer of hope for Liverpool supporters, that City don't need to lose. They're away from home. Teams drop points. Teams draw games away from home all the time. And maybe the dynamic of the day is that Liverpool score early against Wolves, and if Brighton can keep it tight, some nerves do creep in. You suspect, though, in fact, I think if City were to score early down at Brighton and it sort of filters through to Anfield, you wouldn't be surprised if maybe Liverpool struggled against Wolves, because Wolves this season against the top six have been excellent, and that maybe just all the momentum sort of goes out of Anfield and it doesn't turn out to be this perfect day that they've been imagining and dreaming about for the last 6 months.
Yeah, and I think that if they were going to have a chance of overturning the deficit against Barcelona, then Salah had to play the game of his life, and obviously he got concussed at the weekend, so that's not going to happen.
No, you're more looking at it now as something freakish, whereas weirdly, because it's Liverpool and it's Anfield and they can score so many goals and they created so many opportunities last week, there was probably more hope of Liverpool overturning it tonight than any other team in Europe. And Barcelona's record over the last 2 or 3 years in how they were knocked out away from home, that if this Anfield magic started, that they got the goal inside 10 minutes, that momentum carries them through. You just look at it now and where are those goals going to come from? Where is the quality? It is it's going to be almost old school. I think Jurgen Klopp, in a way, even though he loves the atmosphere and is emotionally connected with Anfield, has sort of moved away from that this season. It's been one of the things Liverpool have done better. They've much more control about their performances. It's not all just on getting the cop behind them and trying to drive forward. Whereas tonight, they just need that. They need to go back and hope that something out of nothing, out of Rafa Benitez 2005, we don't have the players on the pitch, but somehow it's written in the stars that they can win this game. But it's very hard to make a case for it.
Where do you think we're going to be in 12 months' time, Nathan, when it comes to the Premier League? Is the top 4 scramble still going to be a massive scramble between 4 teams, and is it going to be a 2-horse race once again?
I think certainly the 2 teams that are there will still be there. Chelsea have shown that they can rejuvenate very, very quickly. So depending on who they sign and what happens with Hazard, you couldn't rule out Chelsea of the other 4 being the ones to make a bit of a run at it. Tottenham, by the sounds of it, aren't going to make a massive investment. They're going to again rely on the brilliance of Pochettino. Maybe the new stadium means they can go through the entire season there unbeaten. They can get a little bit more consistency. They avoid injuries to Harry Kane. And just, as I say, the brilliance of Pochettino as a manager brings them on to that extra level. Manchester United, it's hard to see them getting anywhere near it. We should put money on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still being the Manchester United manager this time next year. And Arsenal, I think, of the 4 of them are, like, I just think they were a disgrace again at the weekend. They're a million miles off it. You at least look at Chelsea and Manchester United in terms of rebuilding and think, Manchester United, they've got Marcus Rashford, they've got Jesse Lingard, they've got some decent young players there that, and also could go and spend 350 million. Chelsea will do well and will buy properly and aren't that far off it this season. Whereas Arsenal need a totally new back 4. They need to replace Aaron Ramsey. Like, they're not a young side either. Like, Aubameyang's going to be 30 soon. And he's their main striker. So you just look at Arsenal and think, like, they need 250 million quid. And that ain't there. Unai Emery has been a great cup manager. Can he do it over a league campaign? I know when he came in, everyone said give him 2 or 3 seasons. Again, football doesn't work like that. If Arsenal start next season slowly, he's going to be under massive pressure. So I can't see Arsenal or Manchester United getting anywhere near it. It's just whether Chelsea or Spurs can push it that little bit closer. But like over 20 points, right now I would expect Manchester City to win the league again next season.
Yeah, Jesse Lingard's 26, by the way. If he's the young core of the team that
this is the criticism of Jesse Lingard should be able to look to Paul Pogba as an example, even though they're the same age.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Pogba's probably a bit better.
A few more medals.
Higher achieving, shall we say? Knows how to run a game, chooses not to. Nathan, good stuff.
Did you just do a Jesse Lingard dance there?
No, that was just the levels here. Are you in your Liverpool pajamas? That's what we've had.
No, do you know? Actually, funny you ask here. Do you know what I'm in?
Your golf gear.
I'm in my running gear, Ger.
Hey.
Because you know what? Do you know what, Ger? I'm going to. You know this triathlon we're doing in 1 month that you're also doing. I've decided I'm going to go crazy and do a bit of training for it.
How long is your run?
5 kilometres.
You can do 5k. We've got.
How long's your cycle?
20 kilometres.
That is far easier than a 5k run.
I don't think it is.
It's up a hill.
I'd like to switch to the 5k run. I could do the 5k run. It would take a long time, but the 20k cycle, my arse is going to break. That's like, and also I don't really have a bike. That's the other thing. It's like I don't know how we're going to practice for this.
Most definitely
an issue.
Going to be an issue for you.
Yeah. Well, we haven't officially launched that yet, so we will at some point soon when everybody's in the same building at some point.
All right.
Nathan, good
Cheers,
stuff.
Lads.
Enjoy the game tonight. Thanks a million.
Talk to you. Thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Just looking at this again last night, the inches with which that ball sneaks in from Vincent Kompany. Do you wonder if you're who's more frustrated over the kind of travails of their team over the last 20 years, Liverpool fans or Mayo fans?
Oh, the pain rankings. Who?
I wonder, like...
Mayo. Liverpool won the Champions League.
Good point. Very good point. And
out of nowhere.
They haven't had as many near misses as well when it comes to the Premier League. They must be just so frustrated, especially because I wonder, does it enhance the frustration that there's just simply nothing you can do about this? Well, maybe beating City would have helped around Christmas there, but largely there was nothing you can do about this ridiculous Manchester City run, putting in one of the best, if not the best, league campaign that your club's ever put in, certainly in the Premier League era. and it finishes like this. It just must be so painful. Like, the hope is there, and it's a lot more than hope. It's close to
it's real.
a suspicion that it's going to be there again next year.
I think this whole kind of narrative is about the pessimism that Liverpool fans have. It's weird. It's like the team is back. They're back. They're credible contenders. They've got strength and depth. They've got a great manager. They've got a great stadium. They've got good, solid owners who aren't going to just rip the money out of the club, it looks like.
But this potential La Liga scenario suits Liverpool, though.
Oh, well, if you're one of the two teams, it's great.
Exactly. It goes back to like Ferguson versus Wenger, where like once every so often Manchester United will just not reach that peak, and Arsenal slipped in, Bardi Invincible's year, slipped in to win the Premier League, and that can happen with Liverpool. The thing is, it's only going to be a 2-year window, maybe.
All right, I want to ask you very quickly, would you take Arsene Wenger back right now?
No.
Would you?
No.
Would you really? Do you think they should have got rid of him when they got rid of him?
Yes.
Unai Emery's a better manager than him?
No.
There you go. So it wasn't the right decision. I was just pissed off, and now I want him back.
When you're saying, is Unai Emery a better manager than Arsene Wenger? Like, you're talking about right now?
Right, would Wenger have finished where they finished now? Where? Would they?
Similar enough, to be quite honest with you.
Similar enough. Similar enough. Exactly the same?
Not sure if exactly the same. They might have dipped themselves down to 6th, but thankfully Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't better than Arsene Wenger.
All right, here's the commentary from the goal last night. Have a listen. We'll get Phil in after these.
Company. And have a crack. He's getting closer. Captain Marvel. Manchester City with a massive goal. The breakthrough at last.
Goal for City! Scored by number 4, our captain, Vincent Kompany!
I didn't realise Captain Marvel was a woman.
There you go.
Yeah.
You haven't seen? Is that an Avengers reference?
I presume. Well, so there was a movie. There's a single movie. Look at Phil. He's already done. Well, shut up.
No. I'm trying to think. I haven't seen many of the.
Captain Marvel is an extraterrestrial Kree warrior who finds herself caught in the middle of intergalactic battle between her people and the Skrulls. Living on Earth in 1995, she keeps having recurring memories of another life as U.S. Air Force Captain Pilot Carol Danvers. There you go.
Reoccurring memories. Kind of like Liverpool fans.
Yeah. Well, so Liverpool fans are Mayo fans. You got Mayo connections.
Yeah.
Who's had it worse over the last 20 years?
Oh, I think Mayo fans.
Yeah, it was a stupid question, really. I completely forgot about Istanbul.
Yeah.
Which completely takes them to an all right level.
Yeah, no, I definitely Mayo fans. Because they've got so close. Like, they've actually got to finals. It'd be
2 own goals.
The comparison is coming up against...
You've given 2 own goals.
Yeah.
In one half, was it?
Yeah.
In one half.
Yeah.
But like coming up against what are essentially robots in Dublin GAA and Manchester City Football Club. There is kind of a sense of inevitability about coming up against them at any given opportunity.
The blue as well, the sky blue.
You didn't say this when Paul Flynn was in the studio the other day. You didn't call him a robot.
No, well, I mean robot.
Full of the big talk now.
I mean robot in the best way possible.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Robot in the way that they just perform.
Name me some good robots there. Go on.
RoboCop.
HAL 2000. Yeah, exactly.
RoboCop is a good guy. There's a few cartoon robots as well that are pretty good. Like the guy in Futurama. Was a good robot. Bender.
Bender's like a complete psychopath.
Is he?
Yes.
I thought Bender was okay.
And a little bit creepy.
I'm not taking away the creepiness out of Bender.
I think Bender survived the Me Too movement.
His intentions were good.
No, they weren't. Did you watch that show?
Not really, no.
Okay, right. Phil, what happened last night?
Well, Manchester City happened. They're in pole position now to win back-to-back Premier League titles, and this is what Pep Guardiola was brought in for. Their 1-0 win at home to Leicester means they're 1 point ahead of Liverpool heading into the final day of the season. The lead at the top of the table has changed 32 times this season. I think that's it.
It took guts before the game. We said we'd need something from within, from deep inside of us. Not enough to have quality, not enough to do the things we've done all season. We needed more, and sometimes you're the one that happens to do it. But in reality, again, a really good team performance.
That's Vincent Kompany telling me who's the boss right there, the captain. First goal of the season, first time he scored outside the box in a Manchester City jersey. And I remember just a short time ago thinking, he's not going to shoot. and then he does, and that's pretty much going to be the goal that's played down the years.
Yeah, it will be. I mean,
Shane Duffy.
Brighton are 17-1 to win at home against Man City.
But as Nathan said, they don't need to win.
They're 8-1 to draw.
Right. Yeah, Liverpool are screwed.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed their avatars from Vardy to Murray.
The Liverpool Wolves game was a gimme all season, and then it's like, that's not a gimme at all.
No, I don't think it's ever a gimme.
I mean, I just think that we were assuming that they would win, and so that Man City would need to win as well.
That's probably the game where there could be the drama, the Liverpool Wolves game. Whereas City, you'd imagine City will do what they usually do, they'll score early. If they, apart from last night and the last few games, but they always score the first goal. Even when they did score, you thought, right, Leicester have 20 minutes to find an equaliser.
And they had a chance.
They had a chance, but Iheanacho showed why City got rid of him. He put the ball out like he was defending.
He did. It wasn't great, was it?
City away to Brighton on Sunday, Liverpool at home to Wolves. Liverpool obviously have Champions League semi-final action to look forward to tonight. I don't know if they're going to look forward to it though, because they're 3-0 down to Barcelona heading into the second leg. They've no Mo Salah. They've no Roberto Firmino. There's talk that teenager Ryan Brewster could feature for the first time off the bench. Jurgen Klopp is hoping for a special night at Anfield.
To celebrate the Champions League campaign, to give it either way a proper finish or another go. So that's pretty much the plan. Just try it, and if we can do it, wonderful, and if not, then fail in the most beautiful way if you want.
Kick-off at Anfield, 8 o'clock. Republic of Ireland under-17 manager Colin O'Brien says an appeal will be lodged against the decision to send off Festi Ebosele in last night's 1-1 draw with the Czech Republic at the UEFA Under-17s Championship. So Andrew Bamidele scored a late equaliser for Ireland. Main talking point though comes from this injury time sending off for Ebosele, shown a second yellow following an incident involving Czech defender Jan Hellebrand. Barely touches him, gets the second yellow. Getting a lot of stick online, Ebosele, for his reaction for throwing off a jersey. The lad is like, he's a kid.
Yeah.
It's never happened to him
It's also been
before.
screwed over massively.
Oh, absolutely.
If he was an adult who reacted like that, I'd be like, fair enough.
Yeah, this is what happens at underage level. As a kid, you learn from these things that you get absolutely shafted. You probably shouldn't have thrown your jersey then, but if it happens again, you probably won't react like that. But
it's also just a jersey.
Exactly.
Just a jersey.
No, my point is that if he's an adult and he reacts like that, that's totally fine. He should react like that. That is a human being reacting to an injustice that just occurred on the football pitch. It was a disgrace.
Yeah, I love the fact that the kit man was like, oh, we got to get that jersey back. Because there was a few kids scrambling over thinking, I'm going to get that jersey, whereas the kit man was thinking, no, we need those jerseys.
It's not over.
Yeah, there's budgetary problems there. We got to make sure we hold on to that jersey. But we can hear from Colin O'Brien now, who says Hellebrand cheated the game and the referee.
The explanation I got after the game, which I feel I have a right to ask as a head coach, because I have to explain to my players, was that our player was late. I've looked at the video myself, and the Czech player has cheated the referee, and he's cheated the game, and I definitely won't be accepting one of our players have to suffer because of that.
Yeah, so Ebosele is now suspended for the final group game on Thursday against Belgium in Tala. Belgium are top of Group A. Ireland know if they win, they're guaranteed to be in the knockout stages, but a draw might be enough as well. But I don't think he's going to get that overturned, unfortunately.
Because it's a second yellow.
Yeah. Judd Trump is the world snooker champion for the first time. As most people were watching Manchester City beat Leicester, Judd Trump was taking care of business. He beat John Higgins by 18 frames to 9 in Sheffield. The second session on Sunday was really the key one, because he outscored Higgins by 8 frames to 1 to take control. $500,000 he gets sterling in prize money. First player in snooker history to amass more than 1 million in a single season, and it's also completed the triple crown of snooker for him. He's obviously won the Masters and the UK Championship as well. From one Trump to another, after winning the Masters last month, Tiger Woods has been recognised with America's highest civilian honour. The 15-time major winner was given...
he showed up to take it all right.
He certainly did. And he was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Donald Trump in a ceremony at the White House last night. And Donald Trump praised Tiger and his relentless will to win. And Tiger was quite emotional as he picked up his award.
I've battled. I've tried to hang in there, and I've tried to come back and play the great game of golf again. I've been lucky enough to have had the opportunity to do it again. and I found a game that has allowed me to do this.
And just finally from me, Cork play Kerry, that Parky Rin this evening at 7 o'clock in phase 2 of the Munster Minor Football Championship.
All right, Phil, good stuff. Thanks for that. Gary Breen spoke to the lads this weekend about the evolution of goalkeepers and why it's important. Have a look.
I think we're seeing it at the highest level now, the difference a goalkeeper makes if he's comfortable on the ball. I mean, look what's happening at City. Pep Guardiola couldn't play the way he wanted to play without that goalkeeper, because it was proved that first season in Premier League, teams would squeeze high against them. Invariably, Bravo would give them the ball back. Likewise, the Liverpool goalkeeper, Lloris, the same. Probably not as good with his feet, but that's definitely one of the attributes now that they never looked at before. And I've played with really brilliant goalkeepers at certain stages of their career. The likes of Matt Murray at Wolves, who was destined to be an England number one, but couldn't play with the ball at his feet, really struggled with it. And that's the way goalkeeping's going now, that you effectively have to be like a sweeper in terms of how quick you are off the line, in terms of your athleticism, but ultimately how good you are on the ball.
Yeah, the lads talking about the evolution of goalkeepers at the weekend, I think in the light of pretty decent debutant from Ireland for Bournemouth at the weekend, so all's good.
All's good. We're going to turn back to our GAA Power Rankings, because we started it last week and Kenny Cunningham ripped it to shreds, so that's your job this morning, Ger. We brought you to start the first 9 teams last week. We'll give you a reminder of this from 33 through to 25. New York at 33, London at 32, Limerick coming in at 31. At 30 is Antrim, 29 was Wexford, 28 was Wicklow, 27 was Waterford, 26 was Sligo, and 25 was Leitrim. These are pre-championship power rankings, so London's narrow defeat to Galway at the weekend was not factored in. They may be set for a jump when we update them. We will update them after every team plays. We'll move on to the next 8 teams in our power rankings now. And in at number 24, we've got Offaly. Offaly, of course, playing Division 3 football this year. They managed to stay up, beating Carlow and Sligo, getting a draw against Longford. And they weren't a million miles away off the top 2 in Westmeath and Laois either. So it wasn't a terrible, or wasn't even an average. It was an all right league campaign from Offaly. And it wasn't actually a disaster, a complete wipeout for their summer last year. Of course, it was a terrible start with everything that happened, but Paul Rouse did steer them to a win in the back door. So Offaly coming in at 24. It's not apocalyptic, I think it's fair to say, and they could be set for a rise this summer with a win or two. Derry come in at number 23. Way too good for Division 4, as they showed this year. Scoring difference in the entire league. They're the best across all 4 divisions, winning all of their games, and they got the Division 4 trophy as well. At Derry, they're down this low. They didn't win a single game in the championship last year. The caveat to that is that they played Donegal and Kildare last year, so you can't really read too much into their championship form. And it was a poor enough league campaign for them, obviously, last year. You do expect them to jump, naturally, Derry. That being said, they've got the dreaded Ulster preliminary round against Tyrone this year, so easier said than done, I think. It's totally unfair that, when you rank these teams, if you're in Ulster, the chances are you're going to be lower down than somebody who's in Leinster. Speaking of which, we go to number 22, and Derry people might not be happy to see Louth ahead of them, but they are showing plenty of encouraging signs this spring under the new manager Wayne Kearns. They actually had the best scoring difference in all of Division 3 despite not getting promoted, so they're scoring well and not conceding a lot. They beat Laois and Down, and they drew at Westmeath. Pretty good results against the best teams in the division. They were hockeyed by Carlow in Leinster last year, and that is pretty fresh in the memory, and that is why they aren't any bit higher, and that is why Carlow are ahead of them. They come in at number 21. Precarious enough position here. They got relegated to Division 4 this year, straight back down. Last 2 championship campaigns are keeping them there, punching above their weight. Beating Kildare last year was the big result, winning 2 games in fact in the Leinster Championship last year, getting to a semi-final. In at number 20 then is Longford. We talked about great championships last year. Let's not forget that Longford beat Meath last year and dumping them out of the Leinster Championship, so they're in there based on that as well.
I had totally forgotten that.
It was kind of overshadowed because Carlow beat Kildare on the very same day, which was seen as the big result of the day. At the very same time, Meath got knocked out by Longford.
And then Meath went on to run Tyrone close.
And Meath went on to do what they did as well this spring. Longford haven't gone back down to Division 4 for 4 straight years this year, which may seem like a patronising comment about them, but ultimately, when you're lingering around these teams, a lot of them have been yo-yo teams down to the bottom tier, and Longford have managed to stay in Division 3 for the last few years. So they were in at number 20, into the top 20 then, and we've got Down in at number 19. Really, when it comes to Down, I'd say they'll be disappointed to not got back up to Division 2 this year. Louth and Laois beating them really to stop their promotion hopes. They did get to an Ulster semi-final last year, but it was the Antrim game. Any team in Ulster who gets Antrim, you kind of have to put sorry, Ger, but you have to put like a bit of an asterisk beside them because the rest of the games are so tough. The potential to rise this summer is there. Their game against Armagh, you feel, in the Ulster Championship is going to be the one that defines down season. They come in at number 19. Number 18 then, and this is the penultimate team we'll go through today, is Tipperary. Now, Tipperary, I think we all realised that 2016 was going to be the peak for this team, and it has been a bit of a slide since then. They weren't a million miles away from getting to Division 1 last spring. Liam Kearns did say that it was probably a blessing in disguise that they didn't get up there. But this year, they got relegated to Division 3, finishing bottom of the table. The thing that kind of is a bit of a counterpoint to all of this is the team that they beat this year in Division 2. They beat Donegal, and they drew it from Anna. So they put in some good results in Division 2. So this is not by any means writing off Tipperary. There is a potential to rise, but 18 is probably where they're at. At 17 then, and the final one we'll go through today, is Cork. Potentially the lowest they'll have ever been over the last few years. Bad few years. Also down in Division 3. Like, they got relegated on head-to-head is the only thing here, Ger. Like, people like to say, oh, they could be down there. You could put Tip, you could put down, you could put Longford ahead of them. And like you were saying, oh, they should be down in the first page last week. It's not that bad. And like, I know you're being sarcastic. It's not that bad. Things are terrible. They're like, in the context of Cork. Cork should not be outside the top 16 teams in the country. They will feel they should not be outside the top 10 teams in the country. This is potentially as bad as they got. Let's face it as well, they hockeyed Tipperary last year before they got trashed themselves in the Munster final. There have been glimmers of hope here and there. There's just been so many more very, very dark moments for the Cork footballers over the past couple of years. I'm calling it now. I'm saying 17 is as low as Cork are going to get this summer.
What do you mean?
They're going to rise. They're going to rise.
This year?
A little bit.
Come on. That's like, oh.
They could flirt with the idea of being the 13th best team in the country at the end of this year.
You're putting your neck out there, buddy. That's
Corkness is on the way back.
Full of the hot takes.
Corkness is on the way back.
You said that they were going to be, if you had your way again to redo our predictions, you said that they were going to be your biggest overachievers this year.
Potential, yeah. It's because of the way the draw is.
So they make the Super 8s.
Because of the way the draw is, for sure. They
basically got to win one qualifier game to get into the Super 8s.
Yeah, and assuming they win their Munster semi-final against Tipperary, which they did last year, very comprehensively, they finished ahead of them in the league. I expect them to get to a Munster final. I expect them to lose that Munster final. But then it's just then it's like picking names out of a hat, really, when it comes to the qualifier, because it's an open draw. It could be anybody that they come up against.
At that stage of the qualifiers, though, because
you're one game away from the Super 8s.
And you could have bad teams drawn against each other the whole way through.
You could, or you could have good teams drawn against each other all the way through. The way the provincial draws are this year,
get through.
Yeah, the way the provincial draws are this year means that there's going to be unless there's shocks, there's going to be no weird provincial final, which means we're going to have a lack of crackers in the back door, to put it that way.
You're going to have Dublin Meath, you're going to have Mayo or Galway versus Roscommon.
No, Mayo versus Galway.
In the final?
Yeah.
Okay. It is in Ulster.
It's Monaghan on the top side of the draw, and then Donegal and Tyrone on the bottom side of the draw.
Okay, so Monaghan occasionally have been a bit flaky in the Ulster Championship.
Yeah, you've got Cavan on that side as well to keep them honest, and potentially Armagh. Ulster's good, and then Kerry, Cork and Munster. So you do get if you had to seed the championships, you would almost make it exactly this way. And it's going to be Dublin Meath.
So teams in the qualifiers are basically Roscommon, Kildare, 3 of Monaghan, Down and Armagh and Cavan.
Yeah.
So they're the teams that you would expect Cork to be facing in an All-Ireland semi-final. Or
in a round 4 qualifier. Yeah, but then again, those teams could all draw each other.
Yeah, so there's a possibility you're left with that somebody squeaks through unexpectedly, a Carlow, a Sligo, somebody like that.
Even if it is someone like a Kildare, Cork will give them a game, I feel. I do think that there is a kick in Cork somewhere. No way will they get out of a Super 8 group, obviously. I just think that there is a possibility if they get a handy draw in round 4 of the qualifiers, we could see them in the Super 8s. And for me, for a team that's ranked 17th in the country, is a big overachievement.
Oh yeah, top 8, but that's exactly, I mean, they should feel they have the facilities and the numbers and the resources to be a top 8 county.
Well, they definitely have that. They don't feel that. That is a matter of fact. They have the population. They 100% have the resources to do that. What Cork are doing at the moment is a terrible underachievement.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. All right, so you have 16 teams left?
16 teams left. We may as well recap what we've just gone through there. So Offaly at 24, Derry at 23, Louth coming in at 22, at 21 is Carlow, and then the top 20 it's Longford at 20, Down at 19, Tipperary at 18, Cork at 17. We'll finish this off on Thursday and Friday.
Given London's performance, is that just a one-off? That's what they do at Ruislip. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be good as a floater in the qualifiers?
I'd agree. There could be a situation though where
that was my question. You're saying yes.
I'm saying that, I think that we've seen that in previous years, that they perform admirably at Ruislip and then they don't do much in the back door. There has been exceptions to that as well. When it comes to these rankings, there's a chance they rise because somebody else drops. And there's going to be plenty of poor performances as well as good performances over the next couple of weeks. How buzzed are you for football? Not at all? In the immediate future.
Well, here's the best part. It's like the seasons now, everybody complains about, there's no attention paid to the football. It's like, well, because the football's crap at the moment. When the football gets good, we'll pay attention. We have this amazing 5 weeks of hurling, and then the football begins to slowly catch up, and there's an odd game here and there. You're like, they're all pretty fit for this time of the season. And then it turns out they're really good.
Yeah, roll on July, basically, is what you're saying.
Do you think that I haven't seen the fixtures? Is the first round again in Croke Park for the Super 8s?
No, it's the last round. The first round is in the provincial winners' home grounds.
Yeah.
Which could show up a few...
Which should be the best days Gaelic football, maybe, that there's ever been.
Yeah, whoever loses the Connacht final, Mayo or Galway down in Killarney that weekend should be good. Whoever loses the Leinster final up in Olma, assuming they win the Leinster final, or the Ulster final, I should say, should be good. Whoever loses Ulster then going down to Croke Park to face the Dubs should be good. That'll be a good weekend.
So winning the provincial gets you a home game first.
First round, yeah. And then the second round is Croke Park. And then the bank holiday weekend in August.
Better to have the last game at home.
Well, that's the way it was last year, and everybody complained about it.
No, the first game was in Croke Park. So I'm saying...
the last game was at home last year, sorry.
So have the
provincial winners got their last game at home in the Super 8s last year.
So you reverse seed it, in a way. That you value the home game as the most important game, right?
Yeah.
So that's the last game.
Yeah, but that was their logic for making it the first one, because they felt that people were out of it. Despite winning their province, they had lost their first game, and suddenly it was curtains for them in the Super 8s. So they changed it so that they would get their home game first up.
But the first game last year was the Croke Park round.
Good point, yeah. So it was a neutral venue first up.
Yeah, so have your away game done, have your neutral venue second, and then finish strong.
That's one way of looking at it. Or, as I say, they felt that having your home game first is actually the most beneficial scenario, so you get off to a good start, because ultimately it's only a 3-game group.
Yeah.
The last game is so often a dead rubber, and you've won your province and you could have a dead rubber at home. It doesn't really lead to much of a rewarding situation.
No, but changing those other two fixtures around probably wouldn't change that, would it? Was the neutral game first, going away, and then having the neutral second?
Yeah, it's not too far away. Either way, the provincial winners are going to have to go on the road in the last game, and if it comes down to it, if you're still in the melting pot and you have to go away from home despite winning your province, you could say that it's disadvantageous. It all depends on what way you look at it, but that seems to be the logic behind why they've changed it this year.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, that is Tuesday's OTBAM. The full thing's available to look back and listen to as a radio show on offtheball.com. It's 9:30 exactly this morning, and the radio show's back this evening from 7 on News Talk. You can stay up to date with everything we're doing across the day on offtheball.com, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7:45. Good luck.